They threw stones thinking you'd break. Now they watch you build a kingdom with the rubble. They really thought you wouldn't make it, didn't they? Thought you were too quiet, too strange, too different to ever become anything. They whispered behind your back, planned in private, laughed in public. They thought you were a pawn in their game. What they didn't know is you were the glitch in their system, the storm behind the silence, the one variable they never accounted for. And now, they're shook, confused, scrambling to make sense of how you flipped the script without ever raising your voice. Before we go deeper, like this video and subscribe if this message already speaks to something in you. Because every time one of us awakens, every time this content reaches another chosen one, it signals the algorithm. This isn't just entertainment, it's transformation. Let's make sure this reaches the ones who are ready to stop sleeping on themselves and start owning who they are. Now, let's begin. People are saying wild things about you, and you know what? Let them. Let the whispers turn into stories. Let the stories turn into noise. That's what happens when you've been chosen and they know they can't stop you. You walk into rooms and the energy shifts before you even speak. You post a sentence and people analyze it like scripture, and they hate that they don't understand why. The power of being chosen doesn't just shake the world, it haunts those who tried to bury you. You are a walking reminder of everything they're not. Your presence exposes their lies. Your peace disturbs their chaos. You didn't just survive what they threw at you, you became stronger because of it. And now, everything they tried to use against you is folding in on them. That's not karma, that's universal balance. They wanted you isolated, you became untouchable. They wanted you to break, you became unshakable. They wanted you small, you became a signal the universe now amplifies. And you kept doubting yourself. You really thought you were alone, didn't you? Sitting in silence, wondering if anyone else felt the weight. Let me say this clearly, you were never alone. You were just surrounded by people who weren't built to see your light. People who were allergic to your truth. People who saw your potential and tried to dim it before it woke them up. You're not crazy. You're not imagining the shift. The eyes watching you now, the stories being told about you, they're proof. You're moving in a way they can't explain. You're showing up with timing that can't be taught. And whether they want to admit it or not, your energy is undeniable. They can't ignore you anymore, so instead they whisper wild things. That you're lucky, that you've changed, that you must know something they don't. They're right. You do. You know how to trust the silence, how to read the room without speaking, how to move when the time is right. They call it mystery. You call it instinct. They call it luck. You call it alignment. They say you're getting blessed, but they don't realize the blessings aren't falling from the sky. You're pulling them in. With every step, with every decision, with every ounce of truth you live out loud. And still, some of you question it. You second-guess your power because it doesn't look like theirs. But you were never meant to follow their map. You are the blueprint, the myth, the signal. You're not here to fit in. You're here to be felt. So when they ask, "What did you do?" smile. You didn't do anything unnatural. You just finally stopped hiding. So if your name's been floating in rooms you've never entered, if people are saying things about you that sound too wild to be real, that means you've already felt the shift. And trust me, if you're truly one of the chosen, something inside you won't let you click away. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you can feel your name gaining weight. Stay locked in, because what comes next will explain exactly why they can't stop watching, and how you became the legend they can't stop talking about. Let's get into it. Number 1. When the dust settles, the real ones still stand. They laughed when you were quiet, but now they whisper because you said nothing, and still the whole room shifted. Let's not sugarcoat this. They tried to clown you, tried to box you in, mute your voice, dim your light. They saw you as disposable, forgettable, background noise. You were the quiet one, the odd one, the one they could overlook while they played their little power games. But what they didn't realize is this: you were never meant to be understood by people who were never built to see greatness. You weren't made to follow their formula. You are the glitch in the pattern. They were playing the game like it was rigged in their favor. What they didn't realize is that the system wasn't working against you. It was preparing for you. While they were pulling strings and stacking cards, the universe was behind the curtain, rewriting the whole blueprint just to make space for you. They weren't just fighting you, they were resisting the very shift the universe was bringing through you. They weren't ready for someone who moves like a message. And now, their time is up. See, chosen ones don't chase the spotlight. The spotlight chases them. You didn't ask to be known. You didn't scream for attention. All you did was survive what they thought would break you. All you did was stay real when fakeness ruled the room. And now look, the whispers have turned into stories. The stories have turned into legend. People talk about you like a myth, like a mystery, like a name that echoes without explanation. That's not hype. That's legacy forming in real time. You know what really rattles them? It's not your wins, it's how you win. Effortlessly, quietly, strategically. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You don't need a round of applause before you move. While they're posting for attention, you're posting up with purpose. And now that the universe has started aligning for you, blessings sliding into place like puzzle pieces, they're panicking because they can't trace your steps. Because you didn't follow the path, they followed each other. You followed your frequency. Let's be clear, you didn't get lucky. You didn't stumble into this. What they call coincidence is just divine timing to those who know how to move when the signal hits. Every missed call, every no, every door slammed in your face. It was redirecting you to exactly where you needed to be. And now that it's your season, they're scrambling for explanations. They'll say you changed. They'll say you switched up. What they won't say is how hard they worked trying to keep you small. They can't say that part out loud, so they whisper. Let them talk. Let them question, let them panic. Because while they gossip about your moves, you're being moved by something far bigger than them. The universe doesn't choose favorites, it chooses truth. And you? You've been walking in it, even when it hurt, even when it felt like no one saw you, even when you doubted it yourself. Yeah, let's talk about that part too. You thought you were alone. You questioned your own light because it wasn't getting the response you thought it deserved. You shrunk yourself, bit your tongue, let people sit in rooms they didn't deserve while you stood outside, wondering if maybe they were right about you. You even thought about walking away from it all, didn't you? Let this be your wake-up call. You were never alone. You were just surrounded by noise. You thought the silence meant you were abandoned, but silence is what the universe uses before the shift. It's the calm before the arrival. You weren't being punished. you were being positioned. While they were getting attention, you were getting prepared. While they were chasing followers, you were building a foundation. And now that your moment has arrived, you better stop playing small before the universe has to remind you who you are. Again, you weren't made to blend in. You weren't made to beg for space. You are the space. You are the one the energy bends around. That's why rooms feel different when you walk in. That's why people talk before you even speak. That's why opportunities are starting to move toward you without you even chasing them. The alignment isn't luck. It's the result of showing up when no one was clapping, of keeping your head up when everything around you told you to give in. And now they want to know, what did you do? The better question is, what didn't you do? You didn't fold when they mocked you. You didn't snap when they tested you. You didn't sell your soul just to be liked. You didn't force what wasn't yours. You didn't beg the world to see your worth. You let time prove it for you. And now, the very people who laughed are silent. The very people who called you too much, too quiet, too intense, are studying your every move. They scroll through your page. They lurk on your stories. They bring up your name like a riddle they still haven't solved. Because you're not just someone they used to know. You're a reminder. You remind them of what they could have been if they didn't settle. You remind them of what it looks like to keep going. You remind them that real power doesn't ask for attention. It attracts it. They'll try to recreate your formula, but it won't work. You're not a formula, you're a frequency, and if they're not built for it, they'll never catch it. So don't get soft now, don't dim down, because you're afraid they'll say you've changed. You were supposed to change. Growth isn't betrayal. Alignment isn't arrogance. Stop apologizing for the light you've earned. Because at this point, if you're still asking yourself, why me? You haven't been paying attention. Why you? Because you were built different. Because you didn't run. Because you were the one who got buried and became the seed. Because the universe isn't interested in perfect people. It wants real ones. And no matter how many lies they tell, no matter how many rooms they try to shut you out of, one thing will always remain true. The universe doesn't forget who it chose, and neither should you. Number 2, perception is their cage, your presence is the trigger. People are weird when they can't figure you out. They fill in the blanks. They make up their own version of who you are because facing the truth of you, that would force them to question too much about themselves. So they label you, box you in, put a story on your name that makes them feel more comfortable. Some will crown you, others will call you dangerous. But what they all have in common is this: none of them can ignore you. You show up and something shifts. Conversations pause, eyes follow. People straighten up without even knowing why. That's not arrogance, it's energy, it's presence, it's the invisible weight that chosen ones carry. You don't need to speak to change a room. You are the message walking in before a single word is said. And here's the part that eats them alive. They don't understand why they react to you the way they do. Some think they admire you, others think they're suspicious, but what they're actually feeling is disruption. You don't fit the mold, and that makes people nervous. People are programmed to feel safe around what they recognize. You're the opposite of that. You're new software running through their outdated system, and it's glitching them out. Some see you as a rising star, something they want to get close to, not because they truly get you, but because they want to say they knew you before. Others treat you like a problem to be solved, a puzzle they can't stop trying to crack. But let's call it what it is. You live rent-free in their minds, and they don't even know how you got there. That's power. That's what happens when your very existence challenges their understanding of normal. They don't realize their obsession is the confirmation. It's not that you're doing something loud. It's not even that you're trying to be seen. What rattles them is that you can't not be seen. You walk in and their energy recognizes you before their mind can catch up. It's like their spirit feels your frequency before they even make eye contact. That's not something you can fake. That's not something you can buy. That's what happens when you move with alignment, not performance. And what do humans do when they don't understand something? They make stories. That's been happening since the beginning of time. People build myths around things they can't control. When someone moves differently, doesn't follow the crowd, and refuses to shrink, they become a target for projection. You aren't confusing, they're just not ready. So they create explanations that fit their comfort zone. She must think she's better than us. He's acting different ever since he started doing that thing. I bet there's something shady going on. No facts, just feelings. But those feelings run deep. You've become a symbol, whether you like it or not. To some, you're a symbol of hope, proof that it's possible to stay real and still rise. To others, you're a threat, proof that all their fake moves still couldn't produce what you did just by being yourself. You're not playing by their rules, and they hate that the game still bends around you. This is where many chosen ones mess up. You see the eyes on you, you hear the whispers, and you start to wonder, maybe I should tone it down. Maybe I should explain myself. Maybe I'm doing too much. Let me stop you right there. Stop dimming your light just because it's giving them a headache. You're not too much. You're just too real for people who've lived too long behind masks. Your presence forces self-reflection. That's why they react. That's why they either lean in or lash out. You are the mirror they weren't ready to look into. You didn't ask to be that, but you are. And now they don't know whether to love you or fear you. So they switch back and forth, confused, intimidated, fascinated. That's not your problem. Let them wrestle with it. Let them wonder. Let them keep trying to figure you out while you keep rising. Because you weren't made to be understood by everyone. You weren't made for their comfort. You were made for impact. And impact shakes things up. So when they start building their little myths about you, let them create the stories. Let them pass your name around like legend. Because that's exactly what happens when someone real steps into a world full of actors. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to break the pattern. And that's exactly what you're doing. Number 3, your name walks in before you do. Legends don't introduce themselves. They arrive, and the world scrambles to explain them. It starts with a whisper, a glance, a look exchanged between two people when your name is brought up. Nothing concrete, just energy in motion. Then it spreads. People talking in corners, screenshots in group chats, comments under your posts that you didn't ask for. That's how it begins. Then one day, you walk into a room you've never been in, and somehow they already know you, or at least they think they do. That's when you know you're not just someone with a story anymore. You are the story. Your energy doesn't just show up. It arrives. It shakes something. It lingers in places you've never been. People have already felt it, heard about it, reacted to it, and built entire versions of you in their minds before they've even locked eyes with you. That's not ego, that's reach. That's what happens when your life starts to echo louder than your voice. You're not famous, you're felt. And that's what terrifies them. You don't have to say anything, post anything, prove anything, yet your name still travels like wildfire through rooms, texts, stories. People you've never spoken to act like they know your soul. They've built theories about how you move, assumptions about your past, fantasies about your life, all because they can't stop feeling the pull of your presence. You've become something bigger than their comfort zone can explain. You've stepped into urban legend territory. That's not something you apply for. That's something that happens when you live in full alignment while others are still stuck performing. They see someone like you, someone who doesn't chase attention, doesn't beg to be noticed, doesn't force the moment, and they get obsessed because it doesn't make sense to them. They confuse your stillness with mystery, your peace with secrets, your clarity with danger. You're not just a person anymore. You've become projection material. They don't just see you, they see what you represent. To some, you're the one who got out, the one who broke through, the one who's doing what they never had the guts to do. To others, you're the threat that proves the rules they followed don't guarantee results. You're proof that freedom looks different and that truth moves in silence. They hate that your legend wasn't manufactured, it wasn't bought, it wasn't hyped up by marketing or trends. It grew organically, word of mouth, energy, realness, the exact thing they tried to erase from their own lives. And now, here you are, moving like a myth they can't control. That's why they can't stop talking. Your story keeps getting retold, reshaped, and reposted. People start adding details you never gave. They claim you said things you've never said. They swear they were there for moments you never shared publicly. Some do it to connect to your light. Some do it to feel important. Some just want to be part of the narrative. But none of them can deny the truth. Your name holds weight now. And the wildest part, you didn't even try. You weren't out here screaming for validation. You weren't chasing followers. You weren't desperate for recognition. All you did was walk in your truth long enough for it to become undeniable. And now it moves on its own. It shows up before you do. It walks through doors and opens them without you having to knock. They don't treat you like a person. They treat you like a rumor they hope is true. That's what happens when the universe chooses you and you finally choose yourself too. The alignment becomes too loud to ignore. People can feel it, sense it, obsess over it. They don't even know why, but they know they can't stop watching. And listen, don't downplay it. Stop pretending you don't see what's happening. Stop acting like it's just coincidence. It's not. It's confirmation. You were never meant to stay unseen. You were just being hidden while your power loaded. Now you're in the wild, and the world is reacting the only way it knows how, by trying to make sense of something that was never meant to fit their logic. That's the price of being chosen. You become a mirror, a myth, a movement. And whether they cheer for you or curse your name, they all still say it. Number 4, they see the glory, never the grit. You make it look easy because you carried hell in silence. They say you always win. They say you're lucky, that doors just open for you, that things fall into place like magic. They whisper about how everything works out in your favor, like you've been given some hidden shortcut. That's what people do when they can't figure out your formula. They call it a glitch. They call it unfair. They call it everything except what it really is: earned. But let's tell the truth they don't want to hear. They never saw the back end of your blessings. They didn't see the nights you stared at the ceiling, wondering if it was all for nothing. They weren't there for the lonely seasons, the dry spells, the days you had to be your own motivation because no one clapped for you. They didn't feel the weight you carried in silence. They didn't watch you build from nothing over and over again, every time something tried to break you. They just see the result, the shine, the peace you walk in now, the confidence you wear like armor. They don't understand that this wasn't handed to you. It was carved out of pain, polished by pressure, and delivered by persistence. And that bothers them, because if you didn't cheat, if you didn't skip steps, if you really earned all this while staying true, then what does that say about them? So instead of facing that, they tell themselves stories. They must know someone. They probably got help. They're just naturally lucky. Maybe they're not even real. You've become their favorite myth because the truth threatens their comfort. Because if one person could break the pattern they submitted to, it means they could have too. And that thought haunts them. You've probably noticed the shift. People you've never spoken to acting familiar. Strangers walking up like they've known you for years. People trying to study your moves, hoping to find the key to your momentum. But they won't find it, because the key isn't something you can copy. It's something you become. It's who you are when no one's watching. They see the shine, not the sharpening. They don't see the discipline it took to not clap back. They don't know about the work you did while everyone else was posting about doing it. They weren't there when you had to pull yourself out of the dark and walk like the light had already arrived. They don't understand the power it takes to move forward with no guarantees, no applause, no handouts, just raw belief and quiet resilience. That's what they'll never get. They confuse your calm with ease, your results with shortcuts, but you didn't skip the struggle. You just stopped making it public. They only see the surface, and what's worse, that surface is enough to intimidate them. Your name holds weight now, even in rooms you haven't stepped into, even among people who haven't met you. They talk about you in places you've never been, because your presence moves faster than your body ever could. That's not hype, that's alignment. That's what happens when you walk in truth long enough. The universe begins to move with you. Opportunities slide into place because you're finally vibrating on the same frequency as your purpose. And whether they love you, fear you, or misunderstand you, none of them can deny it. You walk like something's watching your back. Because it is. You're not lucky. You're backed. You're backed by the weight of every lesson, by the silence you didn't break, by the healing you had to do in private, by the pain you turned into power. And the moment the world started noticing you, that wasn't the beginning. That was just when they finally caught up to what you've been building in the shadows. So let them talk, let them guess, let them try to reverse engineer your journey. They'll never get it right, because what they're looking for can't be explained. It's not in the moves you made, it's in the reason you made them. It's in the choices you kept making when you had every reason to quit. That's what's behind the legend. Not luck, not connections, Not a secret cheat code. Just work. Just will. Just someone who never stopped walking, even when it felt like the whole world wanted you to disappear. Now, the world sees you, and they don't know whether to celebrate you or fear what you'll do next. Good. Keep moving. Number 5. When you move, the world stares, even when they pretend not to. They're obsessed with your light because it exposes everything they tried to keep in the dark. It started quiet, didn't it? Just a few glances, a couple of whispers, a name drop here and there. At first, you didn't think much of it. Maybe you even brushed it off, thought it was just noise. But now, that quiet buzz has turned into full-blown conversation. Your name doesn't just come up, it sticks. It loops in their minds like a song they didn't ask to hear, but can't stop humming. You've become the subject, the topic, the question no one can answer. But everyone's asking. And the crazy part, you didn't force it, you didn't beg for it, you didn't chase it. That's what drives them mad. Because some of them have been working overtime to be seen, jumping on trends, screaming into the void, trying to be everything the world wants, and still, nobody's talking about them. But you just exist, and the conversation follows. You walk through life doing what feels right, and somehow that becomes the blueprint others try to copy. They don't love you, they don't hate you, they do both at the same time. It's fascination, curiosity, confusion, a touch of envy, and a whole lot of why not me? What is it about you? Why does your energy hit different? Why are people talking about you like you're more than just a person, like you're some kind of symbol or sign? They won't say it out loud, but here's the truth. You remind them of what they lost. You carry something raw, something real, something they buried in themselves a long time ago, if they ever had it at all. When they look at you, they see someone who didn't fold, someone who didn't play the game, someone who chose presence over performance, truth over trends, purpose over approval. That's threatening, because if you can move like that and win, then what excuse do they have for staying stuck? They start watching closer, studying your steps, obsessing over your energy. Some try to mimic it, some try to mock it. Others pretend it doesn't exist. But even they can't help looking when your name pops up again. And it always pops up again. See, when you're chosen, you don't chase momentum. You are the momentum. And they want it. They want even a fraction of what you carry. They want to bottle up your calm, your clarity, your timing, your intuition, your power. But they'll never be able to recreate it, because what you have didn't come from the outside. It wasn't downloaded from a trend or copied from someone else's script. It came from within, from pain, from growth, from alignment, from trusting the silence when it looked like nothing was happening. And now everything is. You've become what they study in secret, what they talk about in DMS, what they try to explain when it doesn't make sense how someone like you could rise without playing their game. They come up with all kinds of theories. You just got lucky. You have connections. Something must be going on behind the scenes. They will do everything to avoid saying the real answer. You were chosen. You didn't sign up for the spotlight. You didn't scream for attention. You didn't even try to stand out. You just refused to shrink. That's the difference. That's why they keep watching. Because even in your quiet moments, you radiate. Even when you disappear, your name still moves. You've got people chasing shadows of your light while you're already onto the next thing. You've got people trying to decode you like a puzzle, not realizing you were never meant to be solved, only felt. They want your blueprint, but they couldn't survive your process. They don't know about the sacrifices, the moments you questioned everything, the way you had to rebuild your confidence from scratch. They see the shine, but not the scars. They feel the energy, but don't understand what it cost to carry it. And that's why they'll never replicate it. You didn't become legendary by trying. You just are. Because when the universe picks someone to carry the weight, to walk ahead of the crowd, to awaken others without even trying, that person doesn't need to explain themselves. They just exist. And that's more than enough to shake the world. Number 6. When your name becomes a story, everyone wants a chapter. The myth isn't what they made up about you. The myth is how you never needed their words to move the world. The moment your name started circulating, it stopped being yours alone. It became a spark, a trigger, a blank canvas for people to project their hopes, fears, admiration, envy, whatever they needed to feel something. You didn't ask to be the topic, but here you are. And now everyone's trying to write their version of who you are. You see, every legend, every single one, has storytellers. Not just the ones who tell it right, but the ones who twist it, dress it up, break it down, and serve it to others like they were there from the beginning. The moment you began standing out, the myth makers got to work. Some are fans, sure, supporters who feel like they've known you forever, even if they've never heard your voice. They speak on your behalf, like they're defending a cause. They repost your wins. They build you up like a symbol of what's possible. And honestly, you deserve that. Because you are proof that something real can still rise in a world full of noise. But let's not pretend it's all love. There are others, those who aren't cheering for you, but still can't stop talking. The ones who wish they had your momentum, your presence, your quiet power. They can't understand it, so they narrate it in a way that makes sense to them. They say, you got lucky. They say, you're not what people think you are. They sprinkle doubt around your name like it's seasoning, hoping it'll stick. But what they don't realize is that the more they speak your name, the heavier it becomes. Even lies add weight when everyone's listening. And then there's the third group, the storytellers who don't even care if it's true. They just love the story. They love the drama, the fantasy, the idea of you. They invent entire scenes, moments that never happened, decisions you never made. And the wild part? People believe them. Because belief doesn't need proof, it just needs emotion. And you've stirred something deep in people, whether it's love, confusion, jealousy, admiration. You've made them feel something. That's why your story keeps getting retold, over and over, with new colors, new angles, new fiction. You've become the main character in stories you never wrote. At first, that might have felt uncomfortable, like you lost control of your own narrative, like your name was being passed around, like gossip in rooms filled with strangers. But now, you understand the power in that. You understand that when your energy is strong enough, it doesn't need to ask for attention. It pulls it. And when your name starts traveling like this, it's no longer about being understood. It's about being undeniable. You're not just a person anymore. You're a presence. And that presence means something different to everyone. To one person, you're inspiration. To another, competition. To someone else, a mystery they can't explain. But no matter what role they cast you in, your existence is doing what it's supposed to, shifting the atmosphere. You don't have to control the narrative because the real ones can feel the difference. They know energy doesn't lie, even if the stories do. Still, this is where you need to be sharp, because not all attention is created equal. Some people hype you up not because they believe in you, but because they want access, proximity, a piece of the myth. Others will try to insert themselves into your story, claim they helped build what you've built alone. They'll rewrite the past to make themselves look closer to your rise. Don't give them the pen. And most importantly, don't shrink because they've turned you into something bigger than you ever meant to be. You might be asking, but what if I didn't ask for all this? You didn't have to. You were built for it. That frequency you walk with, that energy you move in, it speaks louder than your words ever could. People felt it long before they understood it. And when something hits that hard, people will always try to define it. Don't waste time correcting them. Let them tell their stories. Let them argue in comment sections. Let them think they know you. Because while they're busy myth-making, you're busy moving. While they create chapters from things you never said, you're writing new ones in silence. And when the dust settles and the noise dies down, the truth of you will still stand. Because the truth doesn't need a loud voice. It just needs consistency. So let them talk, let them twist, let them theorize. You didn't become a legend because of their words. You became one in spite of them. Number 7. When they hate, you trend, even in their silence. They don't believe in you, but they can't stop watching you. That's not hate. That's hunger disguised as denial. Let's talk about the ones who love to hate. The ones who roll their eyes every time your name gets mentioned, but somehow always know your latest move. The ones who say you're overrated, overhyped, not that deep, but can't help scrolling through your every post, watching your stories like they're trying to solve a mystery. The ones who claim they don't care, but talk about you like it's a full-time job. And here's the funny part. They're not just watching, they're studying, obsessed, zooming in on your moves, reading between your words, waiting on the edge of their seats for a slip-up they can use. They want to catch you falling more than they want to see themselves rise. They don't even realize it, but they've made you the center of their universe. They'll never admit it, but your presence disrupts their illusion. You remind them that the rules they follow don't guarantee success, that playing small doesn't protect you, that being chosen doesn't require their permission. So, instead of facing their own lack of movement, they hyper-focus on yours. But here's what they don't get. Every word they speak about you makes you louder. They think that calling you out will cancel you, that questioning your wins will shrink your influence, that dissecting your journey will take away its power. But all they're doing is feeding the legend. They keep your name alive in rooms you've never entered, with people you've never met. They don't realize that silence fades a story, but talk keeps it trending. And right now, you're trending in places they never thought you'd reach. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them scoff, because every time they bring your name up, they're doing your job for you. Every whisper, every debate, every sarcastic comment, that's attention you never had to ask for. They think they're dragging your name, but they're circulating it. And then we've got the spectators, the ones who act neutral. They don't claim to love you or hate you. They just watch. They pass along every rumor like it's breaking news. They eat up the speculation and serve it to the next person like it's gospel. They don't need facts, they need fuel. And your name? That's premium grade. Maybe they heard you closed a deal that wasn't even real. Maybe they say you vanished to work on something massive. Maybe they claim they saw you at 2 different places at once. Doesn't matter if it's true, it's entertaining. And in this world, entertainment beats truth every time. You've probably heard some of the wildest things about yourself, the kind of stuff that makes you pause and think, wait, did I actually do that? Some of it is so layered, so confident, so detailed, it almost sounds like a memory you forgot. That's how deep your legend runs. It's outgrowing you, becoming something that even you start to question. But don't be fooled. They're not spreading these stories because they understand you. They're spreading them because they can't. You've become too big to define, so they fill the blanks with fantasy. You've become too silent to predict, so they create narratives to feel like they're still in control. You've become too magnetic to ignore, so they turn your name into currency, traded, reposted, whispered. That's not clout, that's consequence. When you walk with energy that can't be faked, people will try to explain it in any way that lets them sleep at night. When you rise without their approval, they'll try to write you into a role they can process. But no matter how they spin it, they're watching you. And that's what matters. You don't have to defend your name. It's already doing laps around their doubts. You don't have to respond to every lie. The truth keeps working while they waste breath. You don't need to prove your method, your journey, or your worth. The results already speak louder than their assumptions ever could. So let the haters keep guessing. Let the spectators keep spreading. Let the stories keep evolving. Because at this point, you're not just part of the conversation. You are the conversation. Number 8. You didn't ask for power. You became it. They thought you were lucky. They didn't realize luck doesn't keep showing up for the same person, but purpose does. Let's clear the air. All this talk, every rumor, every post, every side comment, they don't happen by accident. You don't become a topic unless your presence demands it. Whether they admire you, hate you, fear you, or obsess over you, they're all watching because deep down, they know there's something real moving in you. And the truth is, they're not talking because they know who you are. They're talking because they don't. And that mystery, that energy they can't decode, that's power. But let's take it further, because here's the secret they won't say out loud. None of this would happen if you weren't worth it. You don't get whispered about unless your energy speaks louder than your words. You don't become a legend unless your walk leaves footprints that ripple through people's comfort zones. They don't put your name in their mouth unless your presence is already living in their mind. You didn't stumble into this. You earned it through the chaos, through the doubt, through every single moment you wanted to give up but didn't. Legends are not made in ease. They're forged in pressure. Fire doesn't destroy you, it sharpens you. And the heat you've walked through, it didn't just shape your path, it qualified you for it. Every time they counted you out, they were counting wrong. They said you wouldn't last. You outlasted them. They said you peaked. You redefined your prime. They said you'd fall off. You flew instead. Because your journey was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that nothing they say can touch what the universe already decided. You don't fold. You become under pressure. That's what bothers them most. They've seen you fall, but they've never seen you stay there. They've seen you quiet, but they've never seen you fade. No matter what happens, you find a way, and they hate how easy you make it look. Not because it's easy, but because you don't show the scars. You don't scream about the nights you cried in silence. You don't post about the battles you fought behind closed doors. You don't brag about surviving things they wouldn't have made it through. You just keep moving, and moving with that kind of grace, it terrifies them. Because in their minds, if someone keeps winning, there has to be a secret, some shortcut, some cheat code. So they try to explain you away. They're just lucky. They have connections. It's just timing. No, it's none of that. It's the power of being chosen and refusing to back down from it. You didn't get here by accident. You got here by knowing what was yours, even when nothing around you matched the vision. You kept walking when the signs said stop. You kept believing when the noise screamed doubt. You chose alignment over applause, discipline over distractions, peace over performance. That's not luck, that's mastery. Some people can't handle that because they gave up, they settled, they quit on themselves a long time ago. So when they see someone still rising, still pushing, still holding the line, it reflects everything they lost in themselves. It triggers them. Your resilience exposes their resignation. Your confidence hits their insecurity like a spotlight in a dark room. And instead of dealing with that truth, they label you as different. They're not wrong. You are different. But not because you were handed something special. You're different because when life handed you pain, you didn't flinch. When pressure showed up, you leaned in. When the world went quiet, you listened. And you learned. And now that your energy is taking up space, they don't know how to handle it. They want you to explain your glow, break down your mindset, give them the formula. But here's the thing, there is no formula. There's just the decision to not settle. Every day, every moment, over and over again. So when they ask you what your secret is, tell them this: I didn't choose this power. I chose myself, and the power followed. That's all it's ever been. No tricks, no shortcuts, just a quiet refusal to lose. A quiet knowing that what's meant for you can't be taken, faked, or fabricated. And now, you've become the storm they never saw coming. The proof they never wanted to face. The presence that makes people pause, even when they pretend they're not looking. You've owned your power. And now they have no choice but to respect it, or get out of the way. And now, as everything starts making sense, here's what you need to remember. They were never just watching, they were learning. You didn't just survive what was meant to break you. You transformed through it. That's why your name carries weight. That's why your presence hits differently. The universe doesn't choose the loudest. It chooses the real. If you felt this message in your spirit, like the video, subscribe to the channel and drop 77 in the comments to claim your role as one of the chosen. And don't keep this to yourself. Share it with another chosen one who needs this today.